Hey, so today I'm going to teach you about making just kind of different styles of rendering. I also want to show you some stuff with kind of incorporating Entourage into an already existing image. So I got this just basic AI generated image off of Firefly. If you don't know what that is, Adobe Firefly allows you to prompt it to create an image that you're wanting to see, and then you can use it as Entourage or use it as an actual image, but I'm just going to use it as a base image because I don't have a rendering software right now to get me a just simple image. So first thing I'm going to show you is putting a person in place, and I'm going to show you how to blend them in using two different ways. The first way will be like manually, and the second way will be AI generated. So go to this is called Non-Scandinavia. I really like using it. They have a lot of really weird, cool people. Just take a look at that. It's really nice to have. So we're going to choose someone, this guy, just because he's pretty simple. We're going to grab him, copy him, and paste him into this image because he's kind of the vibe that we're wanting to go with. So I'm going to small him down. I'm going to kind of put him maybe next to this plant area here. And obviously, as you can see, the light's coming from this way, and we're going to have shadows around this bottom area. So we're going to name him Man. And so there's, again, a couple ways to do this. I'm going to show you the manual way first before I show you the AI way. The first thing I'm going to want to do is actually make him blend in a little bit more, because you can see the light's coming in and it's not really reflecting that. So we're going to go add a new layer. We're going to do highlights, and then we're going to do Alt click between to link it, create that servant layer and link here. So we're going to do brush, B for brush. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, that seems good. And then we're going to make this the white color. So we're going to hit X. You can also go over here and change it by clicking here. But we're also going to just do X just because that's faster. We're going to go in and start making it a little bit lighter on this area because the sun's coming in. It's kind of brightening him up just generally. So right clicking will bring up this dialog box that allows you to make the size bigger or smaller based on however you're wanting to make it. And zoom in and get them a little bit brighter. And then here we're also going to make a similar, same situation, make another layer called shadows. And then we're going to do X. Again, you can hit this, and I'm going to make it a black. I'm going to softly put on some shadows onto him. Again, he's facing this side, so he's inherently going to be a little bit darker on one side than the other. Okay, it's pretty close. I would also typically make the man a little bit more opaque because everything's a little bit easier to do when he's a little lighter and not really foreground. In this situation, he's very sharp here, so I would also go over here and click the blur tool. So I'm clicking and holding because I was just on smudge, the blur tool. I'm going to just gently go around kind of the edge of him, just to gently blur in part of him, because this is way too sharp, and he would never be this sharp in real life because your eye doesn't read that. And I only try to go around the outside because otherwise it just like makes him look all blurry, and we don't necessarily want that. But as you can see, edges of things typically get a little bit more blurry. What I'm going to do is make a shadow of him now, because I want to kind of start blending him in a little more into this area as well. So I'm going to hit Alt, and I'm going to click the man and go up and drag up, and you can see the double arrow comes out. We're going to call this Man Shadow. We're going to put the man shadow below the man because the man is above the shadow. Here you can do a couple things to select the man. You can either do an object tool and select him. That works pretty well. For some reason it didn't select his bag. There you go. You can select this bag. Or you could have done the subject select. So there's a select subject as well down below this little thing. And again, it's not going to really get his bag for some reason, so we're going to highlight the bag and click Shift and click it to get the bag. All right, I'm going to make him the same color as these shadows because these shadows are kind of bluish. So we're going to go up to here, which is the adjustments layer, to create a fill new adjustment layer. And then we're going to go up to solid color. I'm going to go over and kind of click around till we get to somewhere kind of darker, but still bluish. There we go. Hit OK. All right, so now that I have the man, can be the shadowed man, shadow. We're going to go and we're going to rotate him. So we're getting him closer to this man and closer to the angle in which all the shadows are. So see, the shadows are going this way. So you're going to get him a little closer. And what we're going to do is right click, distort. I'm going to start moving this man to kind of what he would be here. Stretch him out a little bit. There you go, pretty flat. Then we're going to hit OK, which is enter. Now he's pretty close, but we're going to actually want to blur him a little bit. We're going to go down to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. Gaussian Blur kind of filters the edges. So yeah, it's a smart object right now, so we're going to rasterize it so it can become an actual object. And you see how it's blurring the outsides mostly. See? That's what we want, because we want that kind of like darker middle, lighter outside situation. We're going to take this guy. So it's pretty good actually right now. We're going to turn down the opacity just a little bit. It's really close to this. And if there's any other kind of issues here, we'd make it a little bit darker in this area. Just to kind of blend him in back into his self a little bit better. Sometimes for shadows, I also smudge. So if you go over here, click and hold, and then smudge tool. Sometimes smudging works. There you go. Smudging just to kind of make them look kind of irregular, because shadows are not just normal people. They are completely different objects. Okay, cool. So that's pretty close. Like, he looks pretty close to what he needs to be. I'm going to also show you a way of doing it with AI. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to copy this guy real fast. Remember to rehook your layers on there. We're going to just hide him for now. And we're going to go over here and we're going to click Harmonize. What Harmonize does is it's an AI tool now that brings your image and tries to combine it with the image that you have below. So it's generating, and it's going to give you 3 different options. I'm using Harmonize on Photoshop Beta. I don't know if it's on normal Photoshop yet, but Photoshop Beta definitely has it. And you see it's pretty close. We're going to turn on and off. Looks pretty close to how it looks, like how it's like blending in. It's really good. Again, a couple more. This one's also pretty good. You can see it's a little off, but like it got really close and it was like 1 button. So you can do this very often with any people or plants or items. So see, this is a few of the options. Actually, this one's probably the best one. He looks pretty integrated. So if we turn him off, turn him back on, turn him off, turn it back on, pretty good. Okay, we're going to use that for now. But again, I wanted to show you both ways so that you could have both options. And you can see the harmonized layer is above the man itself. And that's how it's like affecting this. So now I'm going to go into just some general rendering stylistic things now. In this situation, it's very sharp. It's very like clear. So what I like to do is kind of give it some grit. So we're going to go into finding a texture. I found this paper texture. We're going to copy it in. And all of these I put into a layer called effects. So I'm going to do a layer, group, and it's a group layer called effects. I'm going to put all these in here so that I can, if you put things into groups, you can change them together. So in this situation, I'm going to change the blending mode. So again, this is the blending mode area. I'm going to go in here and kind of go through and just see the different type of blending modes that we have. Typically, overlay and soft light are pretty good options because they're overlaying the darkest parts of the image onto the image. So let's go with soft light here. And then let's go to another one. This paper texture I thought was pretty cool. So we're going to just make it kind of big, kind of quick. These layers should be pretty quick. They're not needing to be like crazy complicated. I love how this is kind of looking. Multiply again makes it look like it's like screened onto the image below. But darker color also looks really good. So really this is me just like playing around with it at this point and just like trying a bunch of different things. This also doesn't look bad. So maybe if we do a divide and make it like super light with the opacity and fill, it looks pretty nice. It's like brightening up the image too. And then this should also be kind of a lighter. We shouldn't always have the opacity at 100 for any of these effects. And then one more, just for good measure. This looks pretty good already. And then this situation, maybe I want to accentuate the green. So I'm going to go down here to the adjustments tab, fill adjustments layer. And I'm going to go to a solid color and just make it kind of like maybe like green, like a subtle green kind of tone. And again, just going through the blending options. Yeah, soft light's really doing well today. So we're gonna make this a little lighter. Maybe I'm wanting to add some rays of light. So we made a new layer called rays of light. And maybe I'm just bringing in some rays here. I'm gonna do filter, blur, Gaussian blur. You could also do motion blur for this, it might work. I like to use the Gaussian blur just because it softens it quite a bit. And we're gonna bring that down because that's pretty intense. And maybe we're saying, oh, you know, this concrete is not textured enough. Maybe we want a crack in the concrete. So we're going to grab a crack. I've always felt like the best renders have the messiest kind of items in here. It just looks lived in. This situation, maybe I just want this one. So we're gonna marquee tool, highlight it, right click, select inverse, and I'm gonna delete that. And I'm gonna do a W, which is this magic wand tool. It's also object select, but I'm going to use the magic wand tool in this case. I'm going to zoom real close in, right click, color range. So color range is selecting all the colors of that object. So it's selecting a bunch of other things, but if you click the plus, it can get generally all the whites. Great, we get close enough. It selected all the whites, delete that. And then we want to make it maybe a little more this way, and then right click, distort. So again, maybe it's like crawling across this concrete, but it's really, yeah, kind of just hanging out there. And then we're gonna do blending mode, multiply, because multiply only takes the darkest parts. You see, it's pretty good. Make it just a little bit lighter. That's pretty good. It added that crack in very nicely. Okay, cool. Maybe we want to make this a little abstract. So we're going to go into File, Export, Export as, JPEG. Keep this pretty high. Export, and we're going to just do test, just because easy. Let's go to Illustrator. See, I've already done this. I'm going to go into our desktop and drag it in. Dragging in drawings will allow you to open them immediately. Okay, cool. So here we're going to click on this image and we're actually going to do an image trace. Image traces have a lot of different options, low fidelity, high fidelity, 3 colors. All of these are different options that pretty much Illustrator breaks down the image that's there. So we're going to do low fidelity. And low fidelity just kind of makes it a little more abstract and blocky, as if you've almost drawn it. A lot of graphic designers draw their own stuff, and this kind of makes it that way. This is awesome. This looks crazy. Really blocky, really interesting. If you want to edit it, you can go to the image trace panel, advanced, and you can change the paths and whatnot. So if we had like a lot of really high paths, it brings more like detail to it. So it finds more of the areas of darkness and lightness and creates more paths. I don't know if you could see that, but it made it like slightly more jagged and more definition. You can do that with noise to make it more or less kind of abstract. And just playing around with these tools can produce different results. I like this. I like how it looks. So we're going to do export, export as, JPEG. We're going to do test2. Name your files maybe a little bit better. Export. Make sure it's RGB if you are going to not be printing it. If you're going to be printing DCMYK, I would always keep the resolution at 300. And then we're going to bring in the image back into your Photoshop. And then here you can play with the blending modes or making it more or less opaque on the drawing that you've already made. It's pretty cool. It's making it really kind of abstract. Maybe tone this down a little bit so we can still see the image below it. And in this situation, I might want it below the effects panel, just because the effects are having like different qualities to it that we really like, which is this kind of grittiness. And then here, after every render, I go back in, export it, export as, final. And I'm gonna go to desktop. I'm gonna pull it, and when you're trying to pull in one so you don't accidentally pull it just into the space, which will just bring it back into the space, you're going to pull it into here. So it makes a new tab. We're gonna go to filter, camera raw filter. This is what I do after every render just to make it pop a little bit more. So in this situation, if I want to make it kind of dreamy and light and airy, maybe we're bumping down the contrast, but we're also bumping down the blacks so you can see more of those darks come through. Bringing up some whites maybe, bringing up the shadows a little, but bring down the highlights so you can still see that mountain behind it. Maybe we're also bringing up the vibrance, but we're bringing down the saturation. Because if you do the opposite, bring up the saturation, down the vibrance, it starts to look a little more too filled. Maybe it needs to be a little bit warmer. So we're going to change that temperature. Always try to do a little bit of clarity, but maybe the texture is kind of light because it needs to be a little hazy. And then curves, a lot of people do like an S curve. So you bring down one end on the bottom and then you bring up the other on the top. So it kind of looks like an S. Cool. We're going to hit OK. Awesome. And this could be your final rendering.